As I was driving down Sierra Highway, I caught a glimpse of a cemetery to my right and was compelled to take a closer look. What I learned about this cemetery was not what I expected. There was no cemetery name posted, but there was a sign stating cemetery tours with a faded, no area code phone number. At this point, I knew I'd have to dig deeper to find anything about this cemetery. There are only 2 recorded cemeteries in or near Whittier, California, with relevance to Acton. Mount Olive Cemetery and Broadway Cemetery, formerly known as Clark, with the earliest recorded burial being in 1881. Broadway Cemetery is the oldest cemetery in Whittier. It was established by Willett Donald when the area was struck by diphtheria epidemic. Its sister, Mount Olive, is located just across the street. Almost 2,400 people, many of them Whittier's founding pioneers, were buried in these 2 historic cemeteries. A. Dolan Clark cared for the 2 cemeteries since both were located on the Dolan Ranch. For many years, Willett's widowed daughter. After she died in 1940, the grounds were left unattended. Eventually, the city erected a fence to keep vandals out, but by then the cemeteries were derelict, overgrown, and dangerous, and the tombstones were falling over. Whittier declared both cemeteries a nuisance and closed them for good in 1959. The city spent the following 10 years cleaning up the properties and attempting to locate surviving family members and descendants. Remains were relocated if the relatives desired, but some of the families could not be found, and still, some others decided not to move their loved ones. Founders Memorial Park opened in 1968, 10 years after the last person was buried in Mount Olive Cemetery. Although the headstones have been removed, many of Whittier's founding citizens remain undisturbed in their original graves. The flow of the pathways as well as many of the trees and shrubbery are original to the 2 cemeteries. How does Founders Memorial Park in Whittier, California have a connection to this dilapidated desert cemetery in Acton, California? I searched and searched. Then, in a last effort, I simply searched the road name with cemetery. I was shocked with what I found. Residents question fake cemetery in path of proposed high-speed rail in Acton. A cemetery, which some residents called fake, popped up on an Acton property right in the path of where a high-speed rail was proposed, which raised eyebrows of residents who said they believe the entire thing is a ruse to stop the project. Google satellite map images of the property from 2016 did not show any tombstones. The land began turning heads recently when a resident said she noticed something she hadn't seen before: tombstones. Dale Bybee, the man who owns the property, said the tombstones had been there for some time, and perhaps residents began to notice them because he was clearing brush on the property. It's been here for a while. Some of them are just bases, Bybee said. They could have been stolen or families came and took the tops. Bybee said that the cemetery has real tombstones. And it happens to be in the path of 1 or 2 routes chosen by the high-speed rail project, Bybee said. Residents started reaching out to Acton City Council as they began to notice curious gravestones and supposed burial area. I've known it was here, yes. Pam Walter, member of Acton City Council, said, "They've called wondering what it's all about," Walter said, "and knowing full well that one of the routes goes very close here." The California High-Speed Rail Authority, which has a project proposed for a rail that would go from Palmdale to Burbank, said the routes under consideration, including the one that goes through the cemetery, were in environmental analysis phase. The authority did not have any information on the cemetery in the area. Our Cultural Resources team has no information related to the existing cemetery sites in the vicinity of this area, said Adeline Yee, California High-Speed Rail Authority spokesperson. However, we will be working with the property owner and continue to evaluate the potential cultural resources in the area. As the story unfolded, NBC4 reached out to the LA County Assessor's Office. An official said because Bybee's property is zoned as an agricultural space, it certainly would be allowed to have a burial ground on the property. Whether it's real or not, it's a visual statement as to what's happening, Bybee said in a second interview with NBC4. Bybee said he didn't mean to mislead anyone, but there are no bodies buried under these tombstones. The tombstones are real, he said. He got them from Whittier Historical Museum, which had them after a different cemetery was abandoned in the 1950s. Bybee said his cemetery is a symbol of hope that the high-speed rail will be abandoned, like the real cemetery where the tombstones came from. A newsletter released by the Whittier Historical Museum confirmed that Bybee had indeed taken the 24,000 pounds of tombstones from the backyard of the museum to his home in Acton. "I have a lot of acreage and I wanted to create a replica cemetery," Bybee said in the newsletter. "When I brought them home, my wife freaked out and my kids were creeped out. When I'm finished, it's going to look like a Western-themed cemetery like the displays from Knott's Berry Farm." The newsletter, a 2015 to 2016 edition, goes on to detail that the gravestones came from Founders Memorial Park, which used to be called Dead Man's Park on Newland Avenue. Bybee told the museum his plans for the replica cemetery were to lure possible producers who sometimes film in Acton. In an interview with NBC4 on Monday, his plans for the replica cemetery changed. "The high-speed rail is decimating people and taking people's homes and people's properties and businesses for the train that they may never build," Bybee said, "including mine." Although this is not a typical graveyard shift because this technically isn't a graveyard, I still felt the need to share the story of this place and these people with all of you. What do you think about all of this? From the moving of tombstones as a protest against eminent domain to families unknowingly picnicking on grave sites. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please leave a like and maybe even subscribe for more. Thank you all for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next week.